welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to share with you some of my favorite fall eyeshadow palettes. I love this time of year. I love the colors of it. I love the crispness in the air. I love the leaves. I love the sound, the smells, everything. I love fall. All right. I love fall makeup. I love the more sultry looks. I like the deeper, richer tones. I just love the entire aesthetic of it. As we go through these palettes, you'll see a little bit of a running theme in terms of the color story of them, but let's just dive into it and you'll see what I'm talking about. These aren't ranked in any particular order. I just went through my collection and I pulled out the palettes that just have that color story that to me screams autumn. So let's get started. First up on the top of my pile here is Subculture from ABH. This one, okay, I love the color story of it. I absolutely love the color selection in here, with the exception of this shade up here. This one I'm not so wild on. It's got a bit of a strong pink duochrome thing going on. I don't think it fits with the rest of the palette. But I love these more like murky earth tones over here. The trick with this palette is that it is difficult to work with. It's not the most blendable of ABH palettes, so I find I have to really use a light hand, really spend my time blending. I have to kind of be careful as well in terms of what shades I try to pair with each other, because some of them don't play all that well with each other. They look like they would complement each other, but when you start blending them in together, they turn a bit of a murky brown. So I tend to stick with the reds as a look and the greens as a look, rather than trying to mix, say, the yellow with the green and all that kind of thing. I try to keep it a little bit more monochromatic, and I find that that just helps with the blending of these particular shadows. At any rate, ABH Subculture. Now, a palette that I really don't have any problems blending at all is the Gemini palette from Melt Cosmetics. The color story in here just speaks to my soul. I think it's absolutely stunning. I love the olive greens and the mustard yellows. I just think it's beautiful. These shadows work beautifully together. I do find that there is quite a bit of kick up with these, and I do find that a light hand is recommended, frankly, because they kick up so much pigment. If you don't tap off the excess, if you don't go in with a light hand, it's just too much product and it becomes very difficult to blend at that point. Then you get fallout on your cheeks and it's a whole big thing. But if you know that going into it, you go in with a light hand, have no problems whatsoever. The foiled shadows in here are a little bit fussy. Not nearly as fussy as in the smokestacks, not nearly as fussy as in the smoke sessions, but fussy. I can pick them up with a brush. The green one is a little bit more easy to work with than the goldish colored one up here. This one is just a little bit more crumbly. Again, not to the extent that the Smoke Sessions is, because that one is incredibly fragile, but it still does have some crumbliness to it. When I pick them up with the brush, I do spray them with setting spray, and I find that that helps them to sort of adhere to my eyelids with very minimal fallout. Can also use just my finger to pick it up and swipe it on, but overall, like, the color story in here is divine. I love it. Next up is a doozy of a price tag. This is the Natasha Denona Sunset palette. It is currently on sale on the Sephora website, at least here in Canada. This is a rather older palette of hers, although I just recently picked mine up this summer, I think, when they had the 20% off sale. It went on sale and then I got another 20% off of it. So I think I got this for about $100-ish instead of the $170 price tag it normally has. But I've wanted this one for ages. I love the color story. Obviously I love the color story. That was the main characteristic that I was looking for as I was going through these palettes, was the color story. But to me, this one is incredibly autumnal with those oranges, the red, the yellow. And it's just an easy palette to work with. I find the shimmers apply beautifully, the mattes blend out nicely. I will say I am not yet convinced that Natasha Denona is the be-all end-all of eyeshadows. They're good. 170 bucks is a lot of money. So I'm certainly not saying that you have to go run out and buy this one. But this one, for what it's worth, is beautiful. And I really do like it at this time of year because I find that I can get those like really warm sort of looks going on with my eyes. Bringing the price tag way down, Physicians Formula from the drugstore. This one is the Tropical Days palette. And as I was preparing for this video, I realized that Aspen has gotten into it. Can you tell which shadow she was playing with? Not entirely sure what she did, but at any rate, there is the color story in there. This one has a little bit more variety. It sort of deviates away from just being purely orange, red, yellow. You got the blue, you got the purple, but you still have these nice, deep, rustier shades in the middle. I think this one's going to run you about $20 Canadian, but it's totally worth it. I think it's a really good eyeshadow palette, and not just for the drugstore. Like, sometimes things are good in spite of being from the drugstore. This is just a good palette all on its own. It blends nicely, it does last all day. I don't have any finicky issues with any of the shadows, and I just really like this palette, so thought I would include it to have a drugstore option. I have two palettes here from Ace Beauty, and I really couldn't decide between the two of them, so we're going to include both of them. This one is the Flare palette, and this one is fun. I really like this palette. I love the inclusion of like the lime green and the deep teal. I love the brighter oranges that you have and the brighter purple. They're brighter, but they're still deep, if that makes sense. Like, there's certainly nothing neon going on here, although arguably this one is edging towards it, but it's still grounded somehow. I don't know if that makes sense. But these are deep enough that, like, I don't look at this and think, oh, that's a summer palette. Like, it doesn't look summery to me. It's not rainbowish, in my opinion. Although it doesn't necessarily look super cohesive, all of these tones really do complement each other, so it doesn't really matter what you pair with each other. It's all going to be beautiful. Also, Ace Beauty makes incredible eyeshadows. I love their formula, especially their mattes. They just blend like a dream, and again, the pigmentation is incredible on them. So the other Ace Beauty that I have is their Classical Paradise palette. They released a whole bunch of Paradise palettes about a year ago or so, and this one is so autumnal. It's so pretty. Again, you have those oranges, the reds, the yellows. You've got a nice mix between the mattes and the shimmers, and it's just overall a beautiful palette. I like that there's more like a shimmery taupe over here and then this olive green. It just adds a lot of versatility to the palette, and it's one that I just am blown away by the consistency of the shadows, and this palette really hooked me onto Ace Beauty. Let's slide on over to ColourPop. This is the Good Sport palette, and again, same kind of idea. You have some brighter options in there with the purple and this sort of limeish kind of green, but again, they're just deeper and richer than what you would normally get with like a quote-unquote summer palette. And again, the quality is phenomenal here with ColourPop. Love the color selection. And again, these are all shades that sort of play nice in the sandbox together, so you don't really have to spend a ton of time thinking about what's going to pair with each other. Not in the same way that you do with, say, the Subculture. Not that the colors don't complement each other in Subculture, it's just, again, that blending issue. They get murky and it gets to be a hot mess. This one, these play nicely together. Last up for my favorites is the Queen of Hearts palette from Coloured Raine. This one is fairly new to my collection. It's been out for ages, but I just delayed in ordering it, and I don't know why, because it's stunning. It's beautiful. This one leans more towards like the berry tones, and there's some purples in there, that nice deep orange and some nice browns. This is the palette that I'm wearing on my eyes today. What you're seeing on the center there is a Stila Glitter and Glow or Shimmer and Glow or whatever the hell they're called, just patted on top, but every other shadow is from this palette. And I am really impressed with the Coloured Raine formula. I have this palette, and then I bought the collaboration palette, the Power, like Coloured Raine X Power. I don't really know what Power is, to be honest, but at any rate, both of them perform equally well. The shadows are beautiful, the shimmers, full-on metallics, mattes, matte, blendable, pigmented, all of the kind of thing that you want from a matte shadow. And they do last well throughout the day as well. So this one is a little bit different in that it's not like the red, orange, yellow kind of category, but those nice deeper cranberry and berry tones in there is just spot on beautiful. Okay, I have two honorable mentions. They're not ones that I'm like, ooh, fall, must bring these ones out, but they kind of fit into the same kind of color category, so I'll share them with you. They didn't quite make the top rung for me, but not bad options. One is from Huda Beauty. This is the Warm Brown Obsessions. So again, you're getting those nice, deeper, richer, warm tones in there. This one's the warm browns, but a lot of these shades are more on the berry/red side of things. But this is, again, one of those palettes where you really can't go wrong in terms of what you select. And there's only one shimmer to choose from, so if I can say it, this palette's kind of idiot-proof. Like, you can really just pick whatever you want. Maybe swipe the shimmery shadow across your lid and you're good to go. It's kind of a no muss, no fuss palette. And finally, I'm going to bring it back to Natasha Denona, the Sunrise palette. So the other was the Sunset, this is the Sunrise. This was her first of these like more mini-sized palettes, and I have to say I really like this size of palette. Not only is it less expensive, I'm not going to say that it's more affordable, because this was still like 80 some odd dollars, so that's not affordable, but it's less expensive. But I like this size. Like, I like the packaging of it, I like that it lays flat, I like that it's, you know, like a plastic case. I like that it doesn't have that stupid plastic sheet over it and that the shades are like printed below the shadows. I like that if you can see on the back all these little holes, you can pop all these pans out, put them into a magnetic palette. I just like the whole setup of this. But again, I also really like the color story. Again, it fits with the theme of what I've shown you in the other palettes, but there it is at any rate. Honorable mention. I like the other one a little bit more, but this one deserves to be mentioned as well. All right, guys, that's it for me. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch. I would love to hear from you guys down below on what some of your favorite fall eyeshadow palettes are, and I will see you in my next video. Until then, peace out, mofos. We'll see. It might grow on me. All right, bye for now.